Alright. So I think you guys can see everything. Let me just make sure everything's working. Okay, it looks like my video's coming in good. Just double checking here. Alright, so lot to cover tonight, or yeah, today. So yeah, we have a lot to cover. So this is basically a forest scene I've been working on, and I've been working on it for a few hours. And so I'm just going to give you a basic overview of what I've been doing so far, and then we're going to take it from there. So yeah. So what we got here is I got a bunch of subdivisions, and I added in some displacement modifiers, and you could see that first we have the subdivide, and that's at 10 levels. Then I added another one at 1 level. And you can see if you look at my poly count, I'm all the way at 4. That is 4,269,000 polys. And that's a lot of polygons, and I could take that further, but if I just bring this up one more level, that will bring my polygons to 16 million, which is really, it's really a large number, and my computer starts to slow down because I only got 16 gigabytes of RAM. So yeah, so for this I think I'm going to just stay with 4 million, and it looks pretty good. So yeah, so what I did is I added in first, let's actually just disable all these displace modifiers, and it's a little slow, so just gonna wait for that to update. And I'm just gonna click all these here. And I did this in layers. I added one displacement effect after another. It makes things look better, and yeah, keep in mind I'm going to be posting this file to my Patreon, so all my Patreon supporters will be able to get this file, and you'll be able to download it. You can use it for your own projects. So yeah, and that link is in the description. But anyway, let's start disabling this one, I believe. So it's just going to take its time here a little bit because it's got 4 million polygons. And then I got the base pattern. This is frozen, so I just gotta wait for this to kind of update. There it goes. I think. Okay, yeah, it's going again. And so yeah, what I got is the base pattern is, if we go to the displacement, you could see that base pattern is just a noise, a Perlin noise texture, size of 50, and then I just have a bunch of others that I kind of overlaid on top of each other to kind of break up the look of the mountains, or in this case the ground for the forest. So I'm gonna just enable those all again, and you can see as I add one in after another, it becomes more and more random of a look, which is a good, because you want randomness. You don't want everything to look just the same. So this is loading in. So yeah, now it looks too similar, so what I did next is I added in another texture just to kind of break it up a little bit. So let's let that load. And it's very subtle, but it is there. You can see there's just a little bit of displacement happening here. And again, there's another one after that. So let's turn that on. And yeah, there's just a little bit of more breakup of the pattern happening. And then we have another one. And yeah, so you saw that just kind of added in these dents to the landscape, like this here, and that just breaks up things even further. Just makes things more random and more natural looking. So now everything's enabled, and last you'll notice I enabled a smooth modifier, and that's because if it's not enabled, if I disable the smooth modifier, you will see that everything kind of just, there's kind of some issues with the mesh. Things overlap, but as soon as I turn the smooth modifier on with repeat factor of 20, you'll see that the issue does go away. Yeah, and it fixed it for the most part. There's a few odd places in the mesh, but I figure overall the mesh as a whole is fine and you won't even notice it. So yeah, so let's go to the camera view. And this is our view that I got set so far, and if I just go to rendered, you can see we got the dirt all set up, but we're missing something, and what we're missing is we're missing some water in the low-lying areas, and we are missing the trees. And I made some very simple tree models, and I'm using the, what's it called, it's the, I know it's an add-on, let's see if it's enabled. Sapling tree gen, for some reason it was not enabled. I just enabled it again, so it should show up. Yeah, there it is. So that's how I'm gonna make all the tree models, and then I'm gonna just make thousands and thousands of tree models and just place them. I could place them with like a weighted a weight map that I paint in, and I could place them wherever I want with the particle system. And yeah, I could try. Probably we'll get to that part tomorrow, but maybe we'll get to it tonight. So let's first of all just work on the water, because I did make the ground for the most part, and you'll see that if I render it, that it looks pretty realistic. Overall, pretty good. And it's got a really massive shader network. And I didn't cover that on video because it was a very long process, but yeah, let's work on the water now. So I'm gonna just add in a plane, scale it up a lot to the size of the landscape, and then I'm just gonna bring that down so we just fill the low-lying areas, something like that. And let's see, what I could do is make a new material, just call it water, and go to the rendered view, and we need to set this up to look like water, so we're going to turn transmission all the way up to 1, and it doesn't look too bad, but we need to, let's see what we can adjust here. So roughness, probably want to bring it down to like 0.2, or even lower, 0.02, and that doesn't look too bad, but what we need to do is make some patterns. So let's just subdivide this, and simple mode, set that to something like 4. Don't want to go too crazy with this because it will slow everything down. And let's see, what's our face count? Our face count is not too bad. I could go up more with this, probably all the way to 8. So face count only jumped up a little bit. I could go even more. Let's go up to all the way to 10. Okay, that's as far as I'm going to go with it, and then I'm going to just add in some displacement. So, probably should apply the scale. Okay, and displace. Displace. And I'm going to create a new one. And we could use something like, let's see what we got, maybe marble. Yeah, that would be perfect, but actually, you know what? We're going to do this another way. There's actually a much more efficient way of doing this. We're actually going to delete all of this, and we're just going to add in the, let's see if I can find it, ocean modifier, and we're just going to scale that way up, and this will basically make things much easier. So I can adjust the spatial size, and I could turn up the resolution to like 20 and bring up the scale of the waves, and you see we're already getting somewhere. Now I'm not liking the way this is looking yet, so I'm gonna have to adjust some things. So let's see what's going on. Waves are too big, first of all, way too big. So let's turn that scale down to like 10, maybe 20. And that's not too bad. And I want more choppiness, maybe 3. And something like that might not look too bad, but it's too much. It's just too strong, and the size doesn't look right. So I'm gonna just adjust this further. This should be alright, actually. Let's see how that looks. That doesn't look bad at all. But, it's a little bit, I feel like the waves are not defined enough. Perhaps I could turn up the resolution even further to like 30. Now it looks better. That's what I wanted it to look like. So if we go to camera view now, you will see that we are kind of getting somewhere. We could perhaps change the color of the water to be something more light, and could be blue a little bit, but I think I'm just going to leave it as it is. And you will notice that we have a problem, and that's that the geometry next to the water is not it's not like getting moisture from the water. So I'm going to actually add this in right now, and there is a very simple way of doing this. So what I'm going to do is just well, maybe it's not so simple, but it is very doable. So I'm just going to add in a separate XYZ, and then I'm going to take in the texture coordinate, And I'm going to set that to object coordinate. And you see, if we go to the Z factor, what we could do is actually just bring that down. So we could take a math node and then set it to subtract, and then just bring that down until the outside of it touches the water. So let's bring that down a little bit more. Something like that is good, but we have a problem still. We need this white part to turn into a black, to this white, the top of this to turn black too. So what we're going to do is duplicate this, I believe, and we can actually, maybe not add. This would be, let's see what's going on here. So this is actually going to go to be infinite as you go up. So I'm going to want to take values above some number and then just turn them down to 0 around here. So I'm going to add a map range, is I believe a good way to do this. So from min to from max. Do I want to do it this way? Let's see. So I gotta think about this for a second. Let's see what's going on with the separate XYZ. You know what? We could do this with the color ramp. So I'm just going to bring down the black to like -50 and then the white levels to 50. And if we view the color ramp, it should, there is a problem with this. It's not going negative. But what we gotta do is start out negative, because the color ramp can't go negative, so maybe 10. Or I'm just gonna try something here. See if I can figure this out. Oh, there, okay. So now it's going around the water, but I do need to get the top part to become dark again. So I believe I could do this, but then add in another one, make that one white. But bring that white there, and then duplicate that. And then maybe bring that position. Yeah, that's the problem with the coloring. The position doesn't go beyond 1. So I gotta use a multiply and maybe multiply it by 0.5 or even 0.2, and that's getting me more what I want. I'm gonna multiply by 0.1. And this is exactly what I'm going for. Now this could actually just be all white there, and that could be pulled in a little bit just to make things a little bit more, have a gradient, and 0.05 maybe would be good. So now you kind of get water splashing out, and what I can do is just mix in some kind of like I can make a quick mud shader and then use this as a mixing factor for that shader, if that makes sense. So we got our first shader here, and what I'm going to do is just add in, I'm just going to copy this whole, I'm going to make a new one from scratch and just copy some of this. So like this, for example. And then I'm going to use a mix shader. And I'm going to use this as the factor. So now you see, if you look closely, that anywhere where the water is, let's see, is this working? It might need to actually be brought up a little bit because it's not too noticeable. And maybe the multiply can be brought down. Yeah, there it is. Very noticeable. So wherever that black color is where second shader will be mixed in. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for the purposes. So let's see what we got here. And then I have that one. I'm going to take the bottom one, delete the whole top. This one does not have to be too complex. And I'm going to just take down the bump a lot. 0.05, 0.05, even more. And I'm going to make that part darker, and let's see what I could do with this. So I got the IOR value here, and you can see if we bring this up, it's going to go more towards the second shader, which is probably okay, but I kind of want to leave this and see what I could do here. And the glossiness has to be brought all the way down to like 0.05 or 0.1, something like that. And I could use that for now. Maybe bring up the roughness a little more. Just kind of getting a look to make this look more like mud. And I'm pretty happy with that. But also, the displacement is too much. Yeah, the displacement is too intense for that part, so I'm going to have to also add in another map node and then just multiply wherever this area is of the landscape. I'm going to multiply it by 0, which will make it black so there won't be any displacement. And instead of using a map, I'm going to use a mix shader or mix RGB, multiply, and I'm going to use our mask, the mask material here, as a factor for where to mix in the black color versus this one. So now you see that anywhere where the water is just pure black and has no displacement map. And that's kind of what I'm going for. So we have to plug this into the second input. And look at this. Now we have proper materials so that wherever the water is, you kind of see it gets, for some reason this doesn't look like it matches up. Let's see what's going on with that. Oh, it is. It's just a little bit too subtle. Could always bring it up a little more. So for example, I could take this value up 0.03, 0.035. Don't want to go too crazy. And yeah, that's more what I'm going for. So you see as the water climbs up, you see as you get closer to the water it gets more like a mud material and less displacement. But one thing it's too intense, first off, and so we can just adjust that color ramp to make it less harsh. And yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's very, that works out perfectly. And of course it gets a little too intense in some spots, but for the most part I think that looks good. So you see that as you get near the water, the texture generally gets smoother. And one thing is, I don't want this part to be just fully have no bump. I'm going to go to like 0.8. So it's got a little bit of bump, but just less of it, to make things less harsh. That would look good. And now, yeah, let's go back to the regular view. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. So this scene scale is really big, so it's hard to find where I placed everything, but I'll find it hopefully. Okay, there it is. So I created a few tree models. Could just scale them up in the viewport. That should be okay. And I'm gonna create like a few more. So let's do add in just a curve and then sapling tree gen. Gonna do a preset, something like, let's see, we got willow, and it should be at the origin. There it is. Willow looks nice, and I could bring in a random seed. And I'm going to keep the resolution down to make things nice and fast, but I'm going to still make it look very nice. So, random seed, and now we just scroll through until we get something we're happy with. And you could spend a lot of time doing this, but I'm just going to go with something that looks good. I like that. And then I can just go to leaves and show the leaves. And they're way too small, so they gotta be made bigger. For some reason I can't seem to see them. Is it horizontal? No. Oh, okay. That was 0.1. And now the leaves are showing up. Okay, and we can bring the number all the way up, but turn down the scale further. Something like that good. Hard to say. I want even more leaves, like 400. And look, even if you bring it up to 400, it hardly brings up the poly count, so that's fine. Maybe 300, it looks like it's just too much. 350. And leaf scale, I'm going to bring that down to 0.5. If you bring that back up, that's perfect. And now with this tree, I can just move that over to here. And I got a lot of trees that have less branches and some that have more, like this one. But let's work on the particle system, and then we'll worry about modeling the trees later on. So I'm going to clear that parent as a parent. I don't know why that was parented. That actually seemed to disconnect from the... Oh, that's what the problem was. It disconnected from the geometry, so I gotta fix that. There we go. I had to just select the trunk too. And now everything's fine. That's why I was doing that. Alright. So, let's get to the particles. So, now the thing is with the particles, we are going to need geometry, and this is all, I believe that you can't apply it to subdivided geometry. I could be wrong. I'm going to give it a try and see what happens, and if it doesn't work, then I will apply these modifiers to another copy of this that's at a lower resolution, so that we can use that to instance the particles across. So I'm going to create a particle system, and it's going to take a little time, so we're just going to have to wait for that. It's taking long. Not sure why. Okay, there it is. Bring down the number to like 500 for now. And we are going to be adding a lot of trees into here. And we're going to add even some more, we're going to add in some stuff that you would find in the woods, like logs and stuff, just to make things look even more realistic. So let's just work on this for now. So what I'm going to do is render as object. And you notice everything's being really slow, and I think this is because the geometry is just not meant to place onto this high-res copy. So we're going to fix this. I'm going to remove the particles and wait for that. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just duplicate this. There we go. And I'm going to turn down the subdivisions to something like 6. Just so I'm getting a good overall representation of how this mesh should look. Doesn't have to be perfect, and then I'm going to just, maybe I could go to 8. 8 should be good. And then if I just apply these all, now we have a duplicated copy. I don't even need that smooth modifier, it kind of makes it more difficult, so I'm just not going to use that. And it's reasonably low poly, so we can use this. It's got around 60,000 faces, which should be fine. And we're going to hide this as a particle emitter, but for now, let's just leave it. And I'm going to go to particles. Look at that, much quicker. So 500, and we could actually add this to a new collection and call it trees. Press OK, and we can just set that as render as object. Then I called it, let's see, where is it? Collection, trees, and nothing's showing up, so we have to change some things. So whole collection, let's see what's going on. Let's turn this way up. Oh, okay. So we got some problems. The trees are just like kind of raining down. So we gotta fix some things, obviously. So we want no physics. None of this. No physics. We want there to be 0 velocity. We want everything emitted on the first frame and to stay. Now, of course, everything will slow down a lot, so I'm going to have to just turn that down for the viewport. This is very slow. Let's bring that down to like 500 just for now, so we can set this up. And we want to emit it from the normals. Yeah. Let's see, I gotta just find where the setting is. Rotation, normal. Now it's, so I'm just gonna see what's going on here. And I think that I might have to bring these all to the origin. I'm not sure on that though. Yeah, I do. So I'm just gonna Control A, apply. No. I'm just gonna manually place these as close as I can get them to the origin. Something like this. And I'm going to do the same for all the other ones. And now you see everything gets fixed after that. Well, they're still upside down, but it's working better than before. So this has to go over here. Okay, and you see that everything is now merged up, which is not good. So we have to do some randomization, and I believe we could do this. So I'm just going to see what normal does. And now the trees are laying flat, so in that case, if I just select them all and then rotate them by 90 degrees, RY, would it? Yes, it would be RY negative 90. RY negative 9. Nope. RY 90, I think. You see the trees are standing up, but then it's going to be placed back at the origin. And now everything is working great. Okay, yes, it's all working. Yeah. So now, it has to be made bigger. So something like, for the size, 0.2. Now that may be too big, 0.1. But now you see all the trees are combined into one, which is not what we want. And let's see, I'm not sure exactly how to fix this, but I know there is a way. So I'm going to just see if this can be done without having to create more particle systems. So I'm selecting the collection and I'm doing, I want scale randomness. Maybe not whole collection. Yes, that was the problem. And object rotation, then okay, so I have to place things differently again. Yeah, so these particle systems are definitely not easy or intuitive to set up. But with the new particle nodes coming in, that I think are going to come into Blender soon, things should hopefully become much easier. Okay, so that's not working properly. Particle settings. Object rotation seems to fix it, but the position's not right, so you know what? We're gonna do this a different way. yeah, I'm not sure I can figure this out, what's going on here. So instead of doing it that way, what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to do them one by one. So we could like say this is, this is going to be, actually we have to do them all because the leaves are attached. Well, I'm going to try it again. Because I know this does work. But I just am having a little bit difficulty with setting it up to work properly. Okay, so particle settings. Scale, let's just turn that up so we can see things better. And yeah, so what's going on is that the trees are way too low. And that's what I'm having problems with. Maybe I have to... There we go. I had to apply all the transforms. That was all the problem was. So if your particle systems are not working, always apply your scale and all your transformations. That fixed it right away. That was such a simple problem. Even if I move this out of the way. Oh, then of course the trees start floating. So this has to be positioned at the origin. And then you must always apply all the transforms, and I would like to make this invisible. Yeah, we don't want to view the collection. And yeah, that fixed the problem immediately. So we can actually take down the scale to like 0.3 and maybe bring up the randomness to 0.7, bring that to 0.4. Okay, what is going on here? Looks like I got a weird, one of these trees is not, like there's some leaves floating. I might have accidentally deleted a mesh, and if I did, yeah, it looks like one of the trees is not working properly. All the others are, so I just gotta figure out which one that is. Is it this one? Yes, it is this one. No. This is not easy to find out what is causing this. Let's see, leaves, deleting those leaves doesn't fix it. These leaves, no. Alright, so we're gonna do this a different way. We're just gonna go into, we're gonna make two vertex groups, So this will automatically fix any problems we're having. So because it seems like the leaves are not sticking to the geometry. And actually that makes sense. Because they're not, I think I have to parent it. Control P. No, so what's going on now is that the particles do not respect object parents. So if an object is parented to another one, it's not going to maintain that in the particle system. So what you're going to get is your leaves that are supposed to be parented to the branches are not going to be parented to them in the particle system. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go into edit mode. We're going to have to join the tree model to the leaves and then set the leaves as a separate vertex group so we can apply materials to it. So let's select this, the branches, and we could go into edit mode. But first of all, I need to, actually, this isn't even an object, so this has to be converted to a mesh. And same thing with the leaves. Convert to a mesh. And now, what we can do is just go to this tab, and you see we got vertex groups. So, just going to go to edit mode, see all the leaves are selected. Set this as leaves. Tree 1 leaves, or tree 0 leaves. Assign, and select the tree, vertex group, select the tree again, and select, and tree 1 branches, and then assign that. So now I could just join these up, Control J, okay, so this is stuck in edit mode. Okay, there it goes. Control J. And now, if you go into edit mode, you will see that we can, whoop, didn't want to do that. You could see you could select the leaves separately and the branches separately, which is awesome. Okay, so I'm going to do that now for the next few tree models I have. So when I get that one done, to make things a little more organized, I'm just going to hide it. And then tree, I'm going to do this one next. So this one needs to be converted to a mesh. Same thing with the leaves. And then I could just set the tree, vertex group, tree branch, or tree 1 branches, and then select the branches, assign, and then, nope, didn't want to do that. Gotta undo that. Okay, so tree 0, 1. Again, tree, 1 branches, assign, that's good. And then we select the leaves, vertex group, tree, 1 leaves, edit mode, and then assign that, and then join them. And now if I select the branches, those are separate, and if I select the leaves, those are separate, so that's good. So we're going to hide that model, and we're going to go to the next one. Now a lot of these models don't have a lot of leaves in them, and that's intentional. So what I'm going to do again is do the same thing. Convert this whole thing into a mesh. So convert to a mesh. Select the tree. Select everything. Vertex group. Tree. 2 branches. Assign, and then the leaves. The leaves, we will make another vertex group, and then tree, 2 leaves, and then assign, and then I will join these up. And now, if we select these again in edit mode, okay, for some reason that didn't work, so we have to go back and figure out why that happened. It's just going to take a little time to load. So this is tree 2, right? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to undo that again. Okay. And we're going to just do that again because I think I did something wrong here. Yeah. Uh-oh. I hope it doesn't crash. Whew, that's good. Let's just save that. Okay. I'm still undoing this, so it's just taking its time to kind of load here. And yes, undo is really slow. Definitely something that needs to be fixed. Because it takes about 10 seconds to undo one object. Okay, so I got that. And now tree branches are working, but we have to deselect everything and then select the leaves. Go to edit mode. And so that is tree 2 leaves. And I'm going to assign that. Now, if I join these up, it should all work. but let's just double check. Leaves, nope, don't want to assign anything. Select. Okay, it's all working. So that worked, and then we hide that. One more tree left. So it's very repetitive to get this to work, but this is the only way I've been able to get particle systems to work, because you have to parent these. The parenting of the objects don't work in particle systems currently, so yeah, this is the way I found that it has to be done. So let's select the trees. So again, this has to be converted to be mesh, and then we select the tree. So this is just the tree, and then set a new vertex group, tree 3, branches, assign, then leaves, then tree 3, branches, and assign. And now we're going to join this all, so let's just do that. And if everything works as it should, then, okay, it didn't work right, so we gotta do that again. I think I didn't add in the leaves for some reason. Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, so I don't know why that happened. So I'm going to just call that tree 3 leaves, and then assign that. And now if I join them up, yes, now it's working. So I could select the branches, which works properly, I believe. Yes, it is. And then if I select the leaves, it selects only the leaves. So that's working properly, and now we can hide that. So all the trees have all the leaves properly attaching to the trees, and there's no floating leaves that look odd anymore. So that issue has been fixed, and we're just gonna do some randomizations to make things look more like less organized, so it just looks more realistic. So let's go to a particle system, and for now let's just turn up the number to like 2000, and hopefully my system can handle it, and it is actually handling it pretty good. So we can go to the camera view, and you see that if we go to rendered view, it's going to take a little bit of time. And obviously things need textures, so we will start working on that. And the trees are just, maybe, we gotta work on the scale. So, it's hard to say, but I think that the trees size is okay. Maybe just a little bit smaller would be better. So let's go down to the size here, and first of all, lifetime should be really high, like 10,000, and the scaling could be just down to 0.35. More randomness is better, and maybe the number is too high, so 1000 should be alright. And if we view through the camera, that's not too bad. So we're going to still work on a lot of stuff. Let's just add some basic materials to the trunk. So I'm going to save this so we don't lose anything. Um, so, yeah. And now all these trees need to have the materials set, so this can be easily done. So let's create a new material. No, not a new particle system. New material, and call it tree trunk. And we can just make that brown for now. And then we have to assign that, so in the tree model themselves, let's go down to, where would I find the setting? I believe it would be in the vertex groups. So, tree 3 branches, edit mode. Oh, and I made it invisible. So, yeah, there it is. So we got the branches selected. Let's assign the tree bark, or the tree trunk for that. And then we could deselect everything, new material, and we could just call that tree leaves, and then we could just select the tree leaves, and now only the leaves are selected, and then we can assign the material of the leaves to that. So now you'll see that some of the trees will be properly shaded and some won't. As you can see, if you look here, a few of them got the correct leaf color and some don't. So we're going to fix that. We got to do the rest of this to the others. So we're going to do tree number 3 next. And we're going to go back to the vertex groups. And then we're going to just go to edit mode, select the branches, then go to materials, tree trunk, assign, and the same thing with the leaves. Select the leaves, then assign the leaf color. Now tree 2 is done. Tree 1, same thing again. Vertex group. Don't want to assign anything, just selecting the branches. Tree trunk, assign, and then same thing with the leaves. Select the leaves, and then we're going to just set that to leaves, and then assign. And let's just see how things look so far. So we have one more tree left. Oh, actually, something's not working right, and for some reason the bark got the wrong material, so we gotta fix that. So we're gonna just go back to branches, select the branches, then go back again to tree trunk, and then assign, and see if that fixed it. So now, oh, I have to add in a second material. That's the issue. That's what's going on. So, just going to select the leaves and then assign that as the leaves. And that fixed it. Okay, so, yeah, it does get a bit confusing sometimes, but I got that working. So let's go back to tree 1 now. And I'm going to just go to Eevee to make things quicker. Actually, Eevee's pretty slow, so cycles is okay. So again, tree trunk, new material, and then tree leaves, and then vertex group. Select the branches, assign it, Same thing with the leaves. Then assign that. And did that work? Yes, I think it did. Yes, it did. So one of these trees has a problem, and it's this one right here, so we gotta figure out which one that is. That's this one. For some reason that the bark didn't select the right one, so we have to fix that. So again, branches, select, and then make a new material. Then assign the tree trunk to that part. So I think all the trees are working now correctly. Yes, they are. And if we go to camera view, everything's coming along, but we still have some adjustments to make. So let's start adjusting the textures. Alright. I'm going to save this. So let's go to shader editor. Or actually, okay, this is not selecting for some reason. There it is. Alright, tree leaves. And I gotta get to the center of this, so frame all. There it is. Alright, so we're just gonna use a very basic, simple texture for the leaves. So we could just set that to a darker green. And some of these are Japanese maple. So I would like these to stay red. So what I could do is select all the trees that are Japanese maple, which would be like this one, and I could just rename this material to be Japanese maple. And then make a copy. Okay. And then I could just hide that. That one's Japanese maple, which is good. Again, this one will be Japanese maple. And then this one's not. So this one will have the green leaves. So I'm going to just set that to be green. And now, if we go back into material view, you see we got our Japanese maple, and we got some of the trees that are regular. And the Japanese maple trees, I feel like there's too many of them, so I'm going to just adjust things here. Make it more of a bright red. But a very rich red color. Something like that. Kind of looks fall-like too, which is nice. And wish in the particle system that you could set the count of each type of tree. I know there's a way, but I'm not exactly sure how to do that. So we have 1,000. Let's bring it up to 1,500, 1,200. And then we got random seed values we can use. So we can kind of get something we're happy with. And I'm just going through and seeing what I'm generally happy with. That's not bad. And you notice some trees are in the water. That's because we don't have a mask to stop that. We need to paint a weight map, and we will get to that soon. I'm pretty happy with this value as a seed value, so we're gonna go with that. And so I'm definitely missing something, and that's that we have to adjust something here. And let's see what's going on. I'm gonna bring up the lighting passes to like 24. And don't want any clamping. Now, let's see. The leaves need to be adjusted, I think. And so let's go back to the color. Oh, and I remember what I was trying to do. So plane, which plane was it? Was it was it this plane? No, it was this plane. And if I remember correctly, what was going on is I need to be able to get the trees to be yes, I need to change the count of each tree. So I'm actually gonna try to find the option where it says hide the emitter, because I don't need to see the object itself. And I'm gonna use count. So this is a 1 by 1 by 1 ratio. So let's see, I want more of this one, which is, I believe, if I'm correct, would be this one, tree 003, which is willow. I'm gonna rename that to make things easier to remember. So I'm gonna go to camera, I'm gonna go here, and yeah, more willow trees. So willow, something like 10. But it doesn't need to be that many. Let's see, how do I find... So 5, maybe, or 3. 3 to 1. Whoa, what did I do? Oh, I just went out of camera view. Yeah, and I think that's pretty good. Maybe I could put that to 4. Just get a bit of a mix and reposition the camera. And now you see, okay, so this looks nice. Everything looks pretty nice, but we're going to take this a lot further. So let's first of all start with the sun position. So we got our world here. And honestly, this is one of the most complex scenes I've ever made, but so far it's working out pretty good. So I'm going to bring down the sun angle, and maybe what I will do is bring up the ozone, which kind of looks nice, and I want to rotate the sun around until I find something I'm happy with. So I'm going to duplicate this because I was happy with that value, so if I ever want to jump back to that value I can. And I'm going to just see what rotating this does. So now the sun's up ahead. And now it's setting in the back, which kind of looks interesting. Maybe bring the elevation up a little more. And then dust back to like 0.2. So it's kind of like a setting sun, basically. And I can compare that to here. Maybe I will just bring the elevation up. That's not bad. And then I can bring down the elevation a little more. Maybe bring up the dust to like 0.5. I'm not sure where the sun's coming from. Well, it's coming from over here. Okay. That's not bad. Bring it all the way up to like 15. Yeah. Now, let's work on the textures a little bit more. So, I'm going to go back to camera view, then the tree, and for the trees, what I'm going to do is just apply a subdivision, and it might mess up the leaves, but that's okay. Actually, it didn't mess them up too bad. Little bit it did. But for the most part, it seems like everything is okay. You won't really notice it. And we could tell if it didn't go too crazy with the poly counts. I probably should have done that before. So without the subdivisions, the poly count is something like 5 million. With it, goes up to almost 6 million, but that's not as bad as I would have thought. And of course, if you always you could go up with this, and your poly count doesn't go up. So you can add millions of these and you'll never have a problem. Now, we're going to do something really cool. And we're going to add moss. So, this is going to be very interesting, and I'm going to actually cover this now before we do the shading. So, let's just turn the viewport amount. So we're going to view through the camera again. Let's turn the viewport amount to like 50% or 25, which will just speed things up, the viewport. And what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate all these trees again, the whole collection. A is per, would I select everything? No. Just going to duplicate it. Undo that actually. Make them visible. Nope. Just going to select these here. But not the landscape. Duplicate. It's going to take a little time. Move it on the Z-axis. And then what we're going to do, actually undo that. Do it again, one more time. Move it on the Z-axis. And then M to move it to a new collection. And call it moss. And so this is going to be our moss, and we're just going to scale it way down, and it will look like moss when we add millions or even billions of them into the scene. So I know it sounds kind of crazy, but yes, we're going to be adding millions of particles to make moss. And we're going to be using textures to control where to place it. So we can hide all this whole collection again, and we're going to make a new particle system. We don't need to see the moss, but because we're just going to be using it with the particle system. So new particle system, we're going to call that moss. Add something like, just leave it at 1,000 for now. And this could be set to object, I think. No, collection. And then moss. That will be just like the last one. It will be object rotation. And then of course I gotta make sure that's placed correctly, which it is. And now we want it to be frame start 0 to 1. And I don't want any forces. And look at that. You can see it's being added in. And the rotation looks correct, but we need to turn that amount up to like 100 or 50,000. And this is going to slow it to a halt, but that's okay. Okay, this is really, really slow. Now, there's no way you're going to be able to view this in the viewport. It's not going to be possible without your computer crashing. I'm gonna disable that. It's just gonna be a rendering thing that you'll see. Okay, there it goes. So I'm going to set the display amount. %, and then 1,000,000. I'm going to set it even lower because it's still not responding too good. .01. That's better. But now, if we go to camera view and we just view it as a render, I believe it will show, or maybe not, so we'll have to go to render. And this may be when things go crazy, so we're gonna have to see what happens. It's just frozen now, so I'm just waiting for it to respond. Okay. That's better. Gonna save this. And let's just do a quick render. I'm a little concerned about what this is going to do to my computer, but it's worth a try. So, 256. Just going to have to wait for that. Wow. Okay. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so there is some problems here. I'm gonna have to investigate that. I'm gonna have to bake it, I think. But look at that, guys. What you're seeing is 1 million. That's right, 1 million of these instanced across. So I could go to something like 10 million and then make it all green and it will look like moss. So I did not expect this to work so well, so I'm going to just take that number further and see what happens. Wow, that is incredible. 1 million instance trees that are scaled down to look like moss. That is amazing. So I'm going to go back. And let's go to 100 million. And guys, I have no idea how this is gonna go. Keep this in mind. This is 100 million tree models. Yes, you heard that number right. 100 million. It's actually calculating. Wow. That doesn't seem like anything's showing up. Gonna try that again. Maybe it's because I just gotta scroll the timeline to kind of bake it in and try it again. Okay, it's taking a little more time now. Nope, didn't work. Gonna bake it, just see if that fixes it. Try it again. Nope. Let's see what's going on. So I'm going to clear the bake, set that back to, or leave it. I'll write it down. Now does 1 million work? It's not working now for some reason. Let's see what's going on. So it's working in the viewport display. Oh, but it's upside down. Okay, now it seemed to work when I click back and forth. That was weird. Let's just set that back down to 0 in the viewport. Let's just do 100 million. If this works, I will be very impressed. Nope. Let's see why. Lifetime is going to be set up to be higher. I'm not sure why it's doing this. My goal was to try to get 1 billion particles. I don't know if it's going to happen. Let's just hide the tree model to make things less confusing. And just adjust this. Okay, so it is adding in. Okay, so 100 million. Okay, 10 million works. $10 million works. Let's try 99 million. Well, let's turn down the amount to like 0.05. Well, then nothing shows. Alright, I'm just gonna try this. Nope. So 10 million works. 50 million. Seems to be working. I mean, if I could get 50 million particles to show up, I'm not going to complain at all. Yeah, it seems to be loading. It's just taking some time. See how my RAM's doing. Oh wow, yikes. So I need more RAM. That's the problem. To get to like 1 billion of them. Just gonna wait for that. Oh crap, I have them showed in the viewport, which I don't want. Just want to show it in the render, not the viewport. Okay. Here's the moment of truth. Let's try the rendering. Guys, this is 50 million tree models being instanced. Yeah, this is crazy. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's gonna take a lot of time, obviously, but that's alright. Okay, so it's still synchronizing. I'm gonna be shocked if this works. Oh, it crashed. Too much. You know what? Let's go back. And we're going to turn off the subdivide modifiers. yeah, that's what we're gonna do. The moss. Okay, so I'm gonna get the moss. Let me just see. My other page just crashed, so I just gotta get my web browser up again. Hang on 1 second, guys. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to go to the moss and I'm gonna just turn off the subdivide because it's just too much. Then I can get the particle count up higher, I believe. I'm sorry, I'm just reloading my stream up on my other monitor because the computer crashed, and I think everything's working normally, so I'm going to continue. So yeah, so this has no subdivide, and let's go and turn off this plane in the viewport. And for now, I'm gonna go back to the particle system in the plane, which is this one, and I'm gonna re-enable it, and that's 50 million particles, and I'm gonna try rendering it one more time and see what happens. Disabling those subdivide modifiers should make it a lot easier. Memory usage is not as bad. There it goes, it's synchronizing. Yes.